Hello, Steve Brown here. This is the first of our mini video lectures, of which I'll do one each week. Some will be longer than others. Some will be relatively brief, and some will be a bit more detailed depending on the material covered that week. This one will be somewhere in between, probably around 4 minutes when we're done. So the course is Contemporary Ethics, Philosophy 202. And as I said, I'm Steve Brown. I had a little bio and another link that was filmed last year. This one's being filmed this year. And so first thing I wanted to mention was the text that we're using for this course. And I just wanted to show it here. It's Ethics, the Big Questions. And this is a pretty difficult text. It's chosen by a committee at Upper Iowa University. I don't think I would have chosen this text for this class, but we have to use the book that's been selected for us. And the readings can be quite difficult and quite challenging. Hopefully you'll be able to plow through them, and I also reference the introductions at the beginning of the text. But there's also these video lectures which give you some content. There's also my written lectures for each week in which I try to explain the main topics, and I also provide links to external sources, Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and some other places where you can find information and explanation for things to help you get clear. Plus our discussion of these things and our writing on them should help us get more and more clear. The general structure of the course is that we'll start this week by talking about ethics in general, what is ethics, why be ethical, and then over the next 3 weeks we will cover 3 main ethical approaches to ethics. We can call them approaches or theories or views or perspectives, whatever you want to call them. They're what we call normative ethical views, and they're supposed to tell us what is right and what is wrong and how we make decisions about what is right and wrong. And so these are classic views that have been around for quite some time, and the whole course will be trying to understand these views and then applying them to various cases and issues in contemporary ethics. Okay, so this week we're looking at the question of what is ethics, so just in general. It has something to do with what's right and what's wrong. We use the term ethics and morals interchangeably. Philosophers tend to do that, so we say if something's ethical, something's moral, it means the same thing, so don't get caught up on that terminology. But it has something to do with what's right and wrong, with decision making, with following certain rules. We have classic principles like the Golden Rule, treat others as you would like to be treated. We have classic principles like the Ten Commandments, do not kill, and these are all examples of ethical rules that we follow. We also talk about maybe ethics in the terms of the outcomes of our actions, which ones create the most happiness or well-being for people. And then we also talk about ethics in terms of courage and cowardice and wisdom and other traits of character that we can call virtues or vices that we think are important in discussing ethical issues. In this section of the class, we talk about the question of why should one be ethical, and we have an example from Plato which depends on a certain myth known as the Ring of Gyges, and it's a myth that involves a person who encounters this magical ring, and it raises the question of if you could do wrong and get away with it and you never suffer any negative consequences, would you still be a moral person? Would it still be in your interest to be moral? Would you still want to be moral? And then the next major topic of this week has to do with the notion of ethical relativism, the question of is ethics variable between individuals, like what's right for you is not right for me, or is it variable between societies, like one society has a different standard of right and wrong. And one particular view that's covered here is called emotivism, which is the idea that ethics is really just a matter of an expression of emotion. So when I say something's right, I mean that I like it. If I say something's wrong, I mean I don't like it, and that sort of thing. And so that's a controversial view, but it is covered this week because that may be what some people think about ethics. As we move on to the following weeks, we'll see that there's other approaches to ethics that take it as having a more what we call objective foundation, that right and wrong doesn't vary between individuals, or at least shouldn't, that there is a standard of right and wrong for everyone. But again, that's in later weeks. So again, we have our lecture to read this week, which is above this mini video lecture, and then we have 2 readings from the text, and then in terms of our assignments, we have discussion questions, 2 of those, and then you're supposed to respond to your classmates with I think at least I think it's 4 responses. I'm not looking at the syllabus right now, for a total of 10 total comments throughout the week. And then there is a short writing assignment, which is about 300 to 500 words, and then a summary of the week's content and how you think this would apply to your personal and professional lives, your personal reflection on. So remember, when you're doing the summary, to not only summarize the content, but also say, well, what did this make you think, and how do you think this would apply to your life going forward? Okay, great. So as always, you can contact me with any questions anytime you want, and we'll get started. Cheers.